शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवद्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिवा कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं मामा कुर्यां मामा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मा ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितं आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मानि ईस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधितेन होरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रन् ओऽप्यातय मनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं अक्षेम अक्षभिर्य स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्मयि शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः न अन्तः प्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं नो उभयतः प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनम् न प्रज्ञं नाप्रज्ञं अदृष्टम् अव्यवहार्यम् अग्राह्यमलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्मप्रत्ययसारम् प्रपञ्च उपशमम् शान्तं शिवम् अद्वैतं चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः Number 15 and 16. Anyatha grinnatah swapnah nidra tatvamajanatah viparyase tayoh kshine turiyam padamashnute anadi mayaya suptaha yada jivah prabudhyate ajam anidram aswapna dvaitam buddhyate tada. So what I think I'll do is we will continue our commentary on the Karika until verse number 18. And then I think what I'm going to do is revise what we have done so far from the very beginning in a rather very quick manner with a lot of insight and commentary, not a word for word, but just kind of like make sure that we have a good understanding of, because the bulk of the Upanishad itself is now almost over. The rest of that will be Karika and so on. We'll continue to comment on it. But it'll be nice to review what the Upanishad has said so far. You know, as an example, if you look at just what we just chanted, this is where we should appreciate that an understanding of our own self is not an easy matter. A very strange thing that I don't understand myself. How can that be? But really speaking, we don't, because our view of ourselves is all based on our experiences. Whatever our experiences are, we superimpose that upon us. Disappointment, I'm disappointed. Happy, I'm happy. And so really the way we look at ourselves, and this is the karya of Maya, is that we are completely enamored with our experiences. This is how we do it. This is the situation. And this doesn't happen to be true because our understanding of ourself has nothing to do with the experiences. So it's not an easy thing to do. This is what it's saying, adrishtam. It's not something you can see. Avyavaharyam. You cannot use your transactions for an understanding of yourself because the self is not available for transactions. Avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam. And so all of our normal methodologies for evaluating things, including myself, don't apply here. And you know, one of the things why this is an important thing to see is that we continuously get confused by our evaluations of ourselves through experiences. And I mean, if you look at my own personal journey and so on and so forth, it is exactly it. I can see the issues involved because you do get a glimpse about yourself, no doubt about it. So it's not as though it was false. However, very soon, some of the satisfaction, some of the joy of discovering glimpses about yourself, the fact that, my goodness, I am really beyond time? Is it there? Is it, my God, that's a great thing to understand, to even get a glimpse of. But then the glimpse of this self results in a happy experience. This is what I'm trying to just commented on. When I was reading this, just occurred to me. So the glimpses of the self result in is sort of like a self-satisfaction, because the results are enormous. You find that you finally have a view of life which seems to make sense, and it should. An amazing discovery about all of this. But what it happens is, this is what I'm saying now, what happens is that it results in a happy experience. And do you know what? You get happy with the happy experience. You just say, this is wonderful. This is good. But in doing so, you don't realize that this also is false. This also is false. Why is it false? Because your evaluation of yourself continues to be based on your happy experience of your mind. And for a number of years, you feel, I'm doing well. I'm so happy. This is so wonderful. I'm very happy to study all this and so on and so forth. But you don't inquire any further. And that sense of happiness, joy, is fleeting. Because it is false. You're still looking at your reflection. And yes, the reflection gives you an enormous joy for a long time. Nothing like you've done before. No doubt about it. Ultimately, though, it is still false. Because you have really not reached an understanding of yourself. This is a very important thing to see. It's good that I'm teaching you when I'm this old, that I have gone through a lot of experiences and I've been very sincere. And this is the issue. That the understanding of the self as devoid of all experiences. This is what we have to do, is that I have to evaluate myself as a person where experiences don't play a part at all. Not easy to do. So this is an important verse. We will revisit it again and again. Na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam. It means no experiences. No internal experience, no outside experience, nothing. Adrishtam, avyavaharyam, achintyam. How are we going to look at that? Because that is the truth. If we want to really look at the form of Paramatma, which is the I, and we'll go into this in more detail, then you even have to go beyond your experiences. Even though the experiences are very happy, and it's almost like very tempting to stay at that level. But the experiences, any experience by definition is false. That's the truth of it. But the thing that is responsible for your experience is not false. Is not false. I was going to come to that later on, but I'll just continue with this train of thought for just a couple of more minutes, and then we will continue. So here's the situation. So I'm going a little bit out of sequence, but that's okay. That's part of the teaching of the class. So what happens is that so there is a technical term in Vedanta called Anyonya Adhyasa. It's called Anyonya Adhyasa. So Anyonya Adhyasa means an error. It means an error. And Anyonya means one superimposing on the other. A is superimposed on B, and the B is superimposed upon A. This is the Anyonya Adhyasa. How does this thing occur? So the way it occurs is that when you say in your normal rational experiences of life, Swami Maheshanji gave, this is why it just was a little fresh in my mind. I was reading this example, although it's a very common example, but just the way he presented it. He said, if somebody says, I am a teacher of computer science. You say, really? What? You teach computer science? Yes, I'm a professor. I'm a professor of computer science at Berkeley. This is the statement you make. And say, oh, very interesting. Where did you learn? And you say, I was a student at IIT in Madras. And I graduated from there. And I did this, that, or the other. I did my PhD, etc. But really, so look at this statement. I am a teacher, and I was a student. So this is the sample that we have to examine. In this articulation, several issues are involved, all involving adhyasa, error, erroneous things. How? Because what is happening is there are two factors that you're mixing up. And you're mixing it up without any thinking about it. You think this is the right thing, and everybody thinks this way, which is that I was a student and now I'm a professor. So I had state number 1 and now I'm in state number 2. And both the states is me. You cannot make the statement. You cannot make the statement unless it is the same person that had both state number 1 and state number 2. But here's the anyonya dhyasa. The changes in yourself, the studentship and the professorship, and also the sameness in yourself that all of them both of them occurred in you are mixed up. You don't think much about it. So I was young, now I'm old. And the same thing happens here in the 3 states of everyday's 3 states of experience. Deep sleep, swapna, dream, and jagrat, waking. How? Because you have a completely different set of experiences. I was dreaming. I had a dream last night. Who had the dream? Me. Not as though it was some different person dreaming. That's not it. I was dreaming and now I'm awake. I was asleep, now I'm awake. It's a one-way thing because when you're dreaming, you don't say, I was awake, now I'm dreaming. That you don't do because you have a different reality about it. Anyway, that's a separate thing. So one-way thing is that you have different experiences, but you are really depending on yourself. It's all united in one person. I was a dreamer, and now I am awake. Similarly to the fact that I was a student, and now I'm a professor. So I'm changing number 1, changing number 2, and I'm unchanging. These two are mixed up. And so what we have to do is to inquire, is there a real change in me? Because, you see, here's the thing. If you were to know that the changes are false, but I am not, then you'll be okay. Then you'll be okay. But you don't. So what happens is that both the changes as well as the non-change are mixed up in the same category. This is aviveka. This is the issue. And the moment you understand very clearly that the truth, which is satyam, jnanam, anantam, cannot change. It's not possible to change that. And so any changes that I have cannot be on the same category. It has to be on a different category. Here, I think one of the best ways to examine this is the example of yourself looking into a mirror. Beautiful. It's a very important thing. And you know, the example of the rope and snake also, those are all very important. But I think in terms of relying upon an example which clarifies exactly how this anyonya adhyasa takes place, looking at yourself in the mirror is a very good example. So let's see how that happens. So now what happens is, so if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and suppose you are not normal, you're drunk, or if you, as we have talked about before, you are a child. You're a child that has just starting to get an idea of what's going on. Your mind is grappling with things. And the child this is actually true. This is why they say, please do not show a mirror to a child. And if you do, be very careful. And in fact, if you want to do that, use it as an experiment to look at their expressions. Watch the child. Just like they do experiments on rats and stuff like this, where they evaluate how this is being done. I mean, they don't recommend do that, but you could. You could just look at the child and say, and the child is going to look at this other person. And Swami Maheswaranji says that it is very often where the child would say to the other one, even if it's a old, starting to talk about, come, let's play. And then the other person also says, come, let's play. And the child complains to the mother, he's not coming. I keep telling him. Anyway, so the whole idea is that if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you are not an adult, same thing happens with animals. You forget about doing an experiment on your child. You just watch an animal looking at itself in the mirror. It doesn't know what's going on. Is it another animal? And so here's the thing. So just observe this example. In the case of the animal and a child or a drunk person, you look upon the reflection as real. As real. And that sense of reality is confusing. Now, if you were to, a normal person, an adult who is not drunk, and you look at yourself in the mirror, the same reflection now takes on a different form altogether. How? Because you are able to see, yes, that looks like me. In fact, it is me, but it is not me. You're able to distinguish between what you are and your reflection. It doesn't cause any confusion. You enjoy it. You need it. You cannot look at yourself in the mirror and get ready for the class and so on unless you have a mirror. Are your hair okay? And are, anything else on your, and so on. So the reflection by itself doesn't really create any problems. In fact, it's very helpful. The only thing would be if you were to have confusion about its reality. So that being said, what happens is your experiences and your evaluation of yourself as a moving, alive person a live person, which I was going to go into this, this word called jivaha. This word jivaha, which comes in number 16, represents this alive person, moving, talking, and happy, unhappy, all of those things is your reflection. Just like your image in the mirror is your reflection, your experiences, your evaluation of yourself as an experiencing person, a live person, is your reflection. And your reflection, which is changing, continuously changing, which comes from the word, which comes in the word samsari. Here it is not there. Anyway, the word samsari, anadimaya supta najamid viparyase. No, it's not here. Anyway, the word samsari comes from the word sra, from the dhatu sra, means to move, continuously moving. So the word samsari, which is continuously moving, continuously changing, represents the jiva, which is a reflection. Just like, for example, supposing you were to look at yourself in a moving body of water, how broken up you are. And supposing there are waves in the water, how you're looking at yourself in a solid body of water, but somebody throws a stone, and there are ripples in the water, and your reflection also is changing. And how that is changing, exactly the same situation is there. I am looking at myself as a reflection. And what happens, and there is nothing wrong in looking at your experiences, as long as you know you are not your reflection. This is the thing. Just like a person looking at the mirror can be very confused and can have a self-evaluation which is erroneous, and can have a self-evaluation which is full of sorrow. Like, for example, I'm just exaggerating a little bit, but supposing you look at your reflection and it's moving and getting cut up, you feel, I'm getting cut up. That's how it would be. On the other hand, this confusion about the anyonya adhyasa. So how is the anyonya adhyasa? The anyonya adhyasa is that the reflection and you are mixed up. It is your reflection, so you're the one that gives reality to the reflection, and the reflection gives you a sense of experience which is erroneous. So they are mutually creating a problem. And all it is essentially is that you and your reflection are separated mentally, and can only happen if you inquire into it. This is the word prabuddhyate, which will come to that in a second. I'm entering into this in a completely different way, just from the standpoint of the anyonya adhyasa. But here's the thing. And so what I said earlier was that it's not an easy thing to do. And let's not declare victory, as I have done in my life several times, that I'm very happy I did this, I declare victory, I'm done. No, not done at all. Because a sense of just satisfaction itself is fleeting. Why? Because I continue to take the experiences as myself. And so, just to close off this, and then we will go back to our verses. So there, this is what I think I need to make sure that I communicate, and then you need to think about this. There is a distinction, huge distinction, between I, the Sakshi, whose nature is Paramatma. Huge difference between I, that doesn't change, which has been inquired into, is the same person. Because right now it's getting mixed up between change and non-change. But if I'm able to see that changeless person means, let's be honest about it, cannot change. Like we have seen that, for example, a gold becoming ornaments makes no difference to the gold, not whatsoever. And so the difference between I, the Sakshi, and me, the individual, if you want to make a kind of like a approximation of this in English language, you can do it by saying I and me. Me is the reflection and I is the reality. And don't think that this is easy, because you have to do the vichara, you have to think about it. This is the truth. All the Shruti can say is that this is exactly what you need to think about. Yes, this is what it is. It's not as though there's no other better explanation than this. Why? Because the Shruti is the word of Ishvara. You cannot have a man-made explanation which is better than this. Not possible. So this much the Shruti just tells you. The rest of that is yours. Here Swami Maheshanji makes a very interesting point. He says, you talk about you talk about ajnanam and jnanam, ignorance and knowledge. He says, shall I give you an example of that? He says, this is his talking. He says, here's an example. If you say that in the Gita it says that the Atma does not change, this is ajnanam. This is ignorance. Why? Because you don't believe in it. You don't have, this is the Gita saying it. But if you say, I tell you, this is truth, I know it, I can see it, it is jnana. So here's this is an important thing to see, really. All these things, there's so much insight into this, conceptual insight. The normal thinking you find is where people say this is theoretical knowledge and you have to make it into a practical knowledge. Continuously I get questions from people and so on. And we all used to have a question with our Swamijis also. And Swami Dayanand actually made this is one of his pillars of his teaching. He says, no. And Swami Maheshananji clarifies it even more. So it should not be seen upon as theoretical knowledge versus practical knowledge. No, that's not the way to look at it, and that has nothing to do with it. the theoretical versus practical only comes in knowledge of some skills, like cooking. You learn a recipe. I was just in the last couple of days, don't tell this to my wife, please. I was just looking at, this thing called and I go for the gym, so they have this version of New York Times, which is given every day. It's kind of like a Times Digest. It's nice, I like it. You can finish it off while you're having breakfast and you're done with it. What Trump did for the day, etc., etc., you're finished. You don't have to watch television, no nothing. I love this. So in there, and they usually have different things. So they have international, national, business, sports, and one of them is arts. So there was a recipe that caught my eye, and it said vegetarian broth for making Japanese noodles. I said, this is good. So actually I've taken that page off. I threw the rest off, and I haven't shown it to my wife yet because she will laugh at me, because I've done this many times before and nothing comes out of it. I don't cook at all. She complains continuously that you used to cook once in a while, you've even given up that. So I'm not going to do her, but I did tear off this page, and I intend to surprise her one of these days. The only unfortunate thing is it requires about 20 ingredients that you can only get it from these Japanese stores. This, that, or the other. But anyway, that's a separate thing. So there, the distinction between theoretical, and actually I've gone through a couple of those things that look very fascinating to me. Because it had anything to do with vegetarianism. I said, yeah, that's for me. I'd like to do that. And then my son's family, granddaughters and so on, they love these Japanese noodles. This is their favorite food, all kinds of stuff. So I've gotten conditioned to it. And every time we go there, we ask them, is this made with chicken broth? And sometimes they'll say, oh, fish broth? They'll say yes. So we said, okay, no, we cannot have that. And some of them have vegetarian broth. So when I saw the recipe, I said, this is good. Maybe I should learn it. Big difference between reading a recipe and cooking. This is theoretical versus practical. Same thing when you want to be a mechanic for a car. You study all the mechanics of the car, but you haven't fixed a single car yet. So there, theoretical versus practical is appropriate. But in the case of the knowledge of the self, this is not appropriate. Why not? Why is it not theoretical versus applicable? Because you cannot do anything to accomplish the understanding of the self, which in fact is interesting. This word called Dhammasnute. So let's actually come back to this, because I was planning to comment on this one word, which I think started last week but didn't finish it. So that's the only thing I want to comment on, verse number 15. And then we will launch into the 16 in more detail. Ashnute. So ashnute means you gain. So now we can actually just close the loop on the number 15. We can almost read the whole thing. Anyatha grinnataha swapna Nidra tattvam ajanataha viparyase tayoho kshine turiyam padam ashnute. So it basically is summarizing that your life will become complete if you cease to make mistakes in the way you evaluate yourself and the world. So, our life in all the three stages of the day, which is Nidra, which is Swapna, and which is Jagrat Avastha. And here, it's very interesting, Gaudapada ji is saying that there is only two. It is only two, Swapna and Nidra. Why? And we've already gone through this, that really speaking, the Jagrat Avastha has exactly the same fundamental issue as the Swapna that we are used to. We distinguish it, but in the case of Shruti, there is no distinction. What is the non-distinction? Anyatha Grahanam. Anyatha Grahanam means not taking things to be as they are, not inquiring into the truth of things, just looking at it and not really inquiring into it. This is called Anyatha Grahanam. And Agrahanam means that you don't even the error also does not create a problem for you because you are completely engulfed in the error, which is deep sleep. In the deep sleep also there is no problem, but it's not as though you solve the issue. It's not as soon as the bijam, the seed of the errors are still there. So there's only two states, Anyatha Grahanam and Agrahanam. Either making a mistake or not knowing at all. He says when both of these are clearly understood, then Kshine tayoho viparyase kshine turiyam padam ashnute. So ashnute means you gain. You gain. So here, going back to the example which I am very much keeping in mind as I explain this, between theoretical and practical. So get an insight into this. Why in the case of the study of Vedanta, it is not theoretical versus practical, as it would be if I were to make the dish that I have the recipe for. Because the recipe is just a start, then you have to start cooking, and then you have to eat it. Then you say, this was very good. How did you find it? Then you can get your, put a pat on your back. Then this is practical. Or you fix a broken car and then it's all done. Then it is practical. But here, there's no such thing as a practical. Why? Because the ashnute has to be understood. So the ashnute means here, it becomes the word would be vyapyate. Vyapyate means you become present everywhere. You discover the fact that this is pervasive. That's the word. Vyapyate means pervasiveness. And the all pervasiveness. And the all pervasiveness is not accomplished. You are already all pervasive. There's nothing more to do. If you want to be a stickler about it, you can say the error of taking myself to be all pervasive is removed. The error about evaluating myself through my reflection is removed. This is ashnute. So therefore, the right way to say. So because if you say, okay, then how would you describe the stages of the understanding? Because people say, oh, you're just doing theoretical stuff. I remember my dad used to say the same thing. Same thing. That, in fact, two memories come to my mind. One is my dad saying that, no, you're just studying the books and so on, and then you have to do some practical stuff. And so this is one thing. And the other memory that I have, which is embedded in my mind, is my initially meeting Swami Dayanandji's guru, Swami Taranandji, in Rishikesh in 1980. So well, Swami Dayanandji had said that if you're going there, then please do your namaskara to Swami Taranandji. And so I said, I'll be happy to do so. So I had gone to Rishikesh with my whole family, me, myself, our two sons, and my mother. So we went in a car, and we went to the Rishikesh ashram, which was really just one, you have no idea, it's just a one room, and you had to pass through a moat. The car had to go into 6 inches of water to go to the different days altogether. And then after that, I went to see Swami Taranandji. And there's no telephone or anything that you call ahead of time, so you just hope that he's there. And he's there. There were some brahmacharis staying there, so a car pulled in. So I got out and talked to one of the brahmacharis, said, you know, I'm a student of Swami Dayanandji, and he has asked me to see, can I please see Swamiji? He says, I think so. I think why don't you please come and sit down? And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, Swamiji came, and I did my namaskara to him and told him what. So he says, well, what's happening with the teaching? So I explained to him. Almost a year of teaching had already gone through, and another year was left, a year and a half was left. So I explained to him all that we have studied, and so many Upanishads, Kena Upanishad, this, that, or the other, Bhagavad Gita had started, and all kinds of things. So he says, that's wonderful. No, actually more than a year had passed, almost like 2 years had passed, only 6 months were left. Yeah. So anyway, he looked at all of that, and then he told me something which was really has become embedded in my mind. In Hindi, he said that to me. तो अभी तो श्रवण हो रहा है, अभी मरण की बात काफी कभी बहुत है. So I was completely confused at that time. I'll tell you how I was. So he said that right now it is just, you are just doing Shravanam. And then now the life is spent in Mananam. And it was very disappointing to me. I thought I was done. I'd spent 2 years in studying every day, getting up in the morning, this, that, or the other, 3 or 4, 5 classes a day, very sincere, this, that. And I was feeling very high, that everything is done because my experiences were excellent, and so on and so forth. So look at this. The difference between my father telling me that it is just theoretical and now you have to do practical. There's this, you may say that's just words, that's just a subtle difference. It's pretty much the same. No. Why is it not no? Because you have to see that really speaking, have I understood my status, my reality, my swarupa, my vastu, my tattva, all of the any words that you can use. Have I understood that devoid of my experiences? And if I have not understood, then the non-understanding of that is called ajnanam. So Swami Mahesharanji made this very clear, that really speaking, as long as You only have Shraddha. And you at least should have Shraddha. That's a good first stage. But you say, this is what it says here. Wow, this is wonderful. I can see this. Do you see it completely with removing all your doubts? No, and you don't have to say that I don't. What happens is the very next moment, you feel I'm very happy. This is wrong. Because I am very happy refers to me, not to the I. Why? Because you feel I'm happy. Along with that is the fact that I may become unhappy, and I'm happy that I am not becoming unhappy. But I may become unhappy. You see the difference? It's completely different. But if you understand that happiness or non-happiness has nothing to do with me, I am free. My Swarupa is Anantam. Then you understand. Then the fact that you cannot possibly be unhappy. This is a big thing. And so this is the meaning of the word Ashnute. So the Ashnute means Vyapyate. Vyapyate means that if you want to call it your understanding, you can even use the word experience from that standpoint, that Anubhava, you can even say that your understanding and your Anubhava is that I am all pervasive. All pervasive. It's not just that I'm here at this point. It's just, and so what it means is that my experiences are my upadhi. That is just the way I express myself. And exactly like my reflection in the mirror is my upadhi. And there's nothing wrong in enjoying the reflection. We're not saying that don't enjoy the experience of happiness or anything like that. Nothing. But the experience needs to be understood. If it is not understood, it is just enjoyed. You don't go any further. In fact, a sense of happiness makes you stop inquiring. This is why the problems of life are very useful. Very useful, because every time you have a problem, you keep on inquiring because you are not done yet. But if you're happy, you feel I'm done. I don't have to do anything more. This is why they say that both papa and punya have to be given up. Not just papa. Everybody understands that sinful actions should be given up. It's easy to understand that. Not easy to understand that good actions also have to be given up. Why? Because good actions result in happiness that makes you just make the error of not going any further. You say, I'm happy, that's it. Thank you, Lord, wonderful. That means inadequate understanding. Until the Jivatma is to be seen as Paramatma, it is not a done deal. So that's the meaning of the Padam Ashnute. So here Swami Maheshananji actually has explained this word very well. If I can find that. I think it's the same thing, I've already told you that. Yeah, so I think that's, there's so much other things to say that I wouldn't. Anyway, so that's, oh my gosh. This next verse is full of concepts and a lot of things to discover. So let me see. Okay. All right, so let's look at the word meanings, and then I will focus in on the individual meanings on some of the words. Anadi mayaya suptaha yada jivaha prabudhyate ajam anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate tada. So the Anvaya is the Sanskritam Anvaya. Yada anadi mayaya suptaha jivaha prabudhyate tada ajam anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate. This is the Anvaya. And here the English translation is, when the individual soul and the jiva and the individual soul to designate a jiva is accurate. So we've already gone through this, that the jiva equals a soul which is housed in the body from life to life, but continues its own identity as a sukshma sharira. So that person is called a soul. And that also is not real, because it has a kind of like a separateness from Atma. So anyway, so the word jiva. So when the individual's soul, who is asleep, because of the beginningless Maya, is awakened, then the person realizes the unborn, sleepless, dreamless, non-duality nature of himself or herself. So this is the English translation. So here, now let's start to look at the meanings of some individual words, and I may only have just time for one or two words, but not all of them. The first one is yada, tada. So yada means a point in time. So it says when, then. When the individual soul, etc., he then realizes. So it looks like it's a point in time. Actually, this is not a point in time. Actually, it allows us to investigate the nature of time. Because the way we first understand yada and tada, it is with respect to a coordinate of time as being real. You say that, okay, we all understand time. You say, yeah, we understand time. Okay, so when this happens, then you say, okay, that I can understand that. So that means do not disturb the definition of the coordinates of time. That's taken as the very background for the understanding. That means time is taken to be real. And which in the Vedantic view of the Shruti is not proper, not taken to be that. The time itself should not be taken as the unchanging set of coordinates. No. Why not? Because please see that the time is also a concept. It is also a set of thoughts. Set of thoughts. So Let's investigate that a little bit more. So one of the things to look at that is, interestingly enough, in deep sleep, time disappears. So if the time was that real, then you would not have this state. This is a state. So time bound coordinates is a state. There is no reality about it. It is a state. State meaning just like you take on a role. This is what we've been saying, that really the way you look at the three states is you're taking on three roles. So you take on the role of the time and you superimpose upon them yourself. And like everything else in the Jagrata Avastha, what distinguishes the Jagrata Avastha from the Swapna Avastha is that our collective karmas of all the people gives us a common experience. Not only do you have your individual karma, you have the entire karma of the humanity. It's kind of like, you've committed, I don't know, it's just a thought occurred to me, that you've committed an individual crime. But now you've been put in jail with all the other criminals. This is exactly what it is. And in fact, if you are a very bad criminal, or if you're a rich criminal, then they give you something separate. Otherwise, everybody exercises together, you eat together, and so on. So this is exactly what it is. That we are thrown into this jail of limitations along with everybody else. Because you are also seeking the same thing as I am also seeking the same thing. We're all collectively looking at it, serving our time, so to speak. Serving our time. So the time becomes a normal entity. Say, so when did you come to the U.S.? Since I came to the U.S. You also understand it, I also understand it, and we say, oh, this is real. Yeah, you all came. And the only thing you cannot, this beauty of it, actually it's a good thing. When did you go to sleep? You cannot answer it. There's no answer to it. There's no precise time when you can sleep. You can say somewhere between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, or 10 and 11, or whatever, but you cannot say the exact time, because the time disappears. Okay. Okay, then another thing is, highly subjective, very subjective. When Maheshanji gave this example, he says, he said, supposing somebody says, I stayed at this ashram for 1 year. And the manager of the ashram said, wrong. You got here at noon on January 1st, and you only left it at 1 o'clock on the next one January. So you are completely wrong. It is 1 year and 1 hour. So everybody will laugh and say, ha 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 ha, what a stupid fool. Just he said I stayed there for 1 year. Then he says, look at the other way around. You secured an interview with Prime Minister Modi for 10 minutes. And that's all the time you were given. But as usually happens, what you had to present to the Prime Minister was so interesting to him, you stayed for 1 hour. And you cannot believe. So you say, my goodness, He gave me so much time, I cannot believe it. I don't even know. I only went there for 10 minutes, I was there for forever. That 1 hour seems forever. And in the first case, it is so trivial that is not even worth mentioning. You say 1 year. So the 1 hour, how you look at it, it's completely different. It's very subjective. That just means when you say it is subjective, it means it is evaluated on the basis of the context, reference points, through the thinking of the person, conceptual, full of thoughts. And so, in fact, this is an important thing to see. Swami Dayanandaji made this to us. And Swami Maheshanand and others, they also enhanced this even further. Yesterday or past, let's look at past, present, and future are not three separate realities. If they were separate realities means, in fact, another way to restate it, not separate realities, they are not equal realities. I think that's a much better way of saying it. They are not, this is not equal realities. Why not? Because along with the present, if they were equal realities, along with the present, I would have a simultaneous experience of the past and the future. That's not true. That doesn't happen. In fact, what happens is that I am only in the present. And the past is a memory. And the future is a possibility. So the status of a memory and a possibility cannot be equated to the reality. Those are just conceptual things. Yes, Swami Dayananda used to give this example. He says there was a signboard on top of a shop which says, all transactions today are on cash, credit card tomorrow. So the guy said, well, I don't have any cash, so I'll come back tomorrow. He goes back, same board is there, cash today. So he says, you said that tomorrow. He says, I don't know, I'm just going with this is my card. I deal with reality. Today is cash only. Tomorrow I can take credit card. This is exactly what it is, really. This is our situation. So really, yada and tada do not refer here to a state of time. They refer here to a state of experience. When a person understands the non-reality of time, you're done. You're free. Until then, you are under the spell of the concept of time. So this word yada and tada, I think we can summarize, that's all we will do on this whole verse. There's so much other things to do, but all it says is that yada and tada are not showing when will I become a jnani. At what time will I become a Jivan Mukta or anything like this? No point in time. It just means there is, when I understand that time does not limit me. Ashnute, Sarva Vyapakaha, I am already all pervasive. And I just have superimposed the jail of time and space onto myself. And as long as I understand that I am free from it, already free from it, not anything new, but just the confusion on it which I superimposed is removed, then buddhyate. Then viparyase kshine padam turiyam padam ashnute. So this is the word, this is one of the explanations of the word yada. And now we would look into the next one to look at is prabuddhyate. A lot of interesting things to see there. So we will do that next week. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaah go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samastha sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini deshoyam shobharahitaha brahmana santu nirbhayaah sarve bhavantu kinaha sarve santu niramayah sarve patrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sorry, Viren, just a couple of minutes. Just want to give you a status update of our move. So it's some good things are happening. We've had a couple of meetings with the owner of the property, and on